Many people out there believe that somehow if you are conscious, you have to be somewhat perfect. You must be perfect. And if you are not perfect, you are not conscious. What does that remind you of? Well, that reminds me of religiosity. It reminds me of the dogmas you find in religion, that somehow if you are aware of a higher truth, if you are walking in a truth, you have to be perfect. And yet it's quite the opposite. It is the opposite. Because when you are conscious, you are simply conscious of the troubles you face. You are conscious of your imperfection. And you are conscious of the perfection in your imperfection. You are conscious of the perfection in imperfection. With you, with everything. Everyone and everything. When you are a conscious being, you have more patience. When you are a conscious being, you have more understanding. When you are a conscious being, you have more loving. Not because you're perfect, because you're not. But simply for the fact that you are conscious of the perfection in imperfection. And if you do not understand that statement itself, maybe you're still sleeping. Maybe you're still sleeping. We are not meant to be perfect as of this point in time. Hence, we are still going through a journey. Yet, people will try and shut you down and try and block your truth because they see you are not perfect. If you ever come about somebody who is pushing a truth and they expect perfection, they are simply opening up a new religion. They're simply switching it up. They're not actually stepping out of the paradigm of dogma. So don't be fooled when you see people talking about certain deep things. Don't be fooled when you see people looking a certain way, because the proof is in the pudding. And I'm talking about the inner pudding. So it is a difficult thing. It's a very sobering truth to be aware of the matrix you're in, maybe, of the problems you see, of the despair, the suffering, all the issues at hand. They say ignorance is bliss. It is. Ignorance is bliss for the fool. Because when you are conscious, when you are awake, you have no choice but to see the good and the bad. And it becomes your responsibility to take on the bad. Because you being awake and everybody else is asleep, if you don't do it, who will? And so you have to bear that in mind. It is tough being conscious. It's not something you put on yourself. It's not a garment. It's you. It's your entirety. You are becoming more conscious of your other beings, the other dimensions to your one self. You see the connection between you and everything and everyone. And so empathy grows. Your heart chakra starts to grow. You now feel things for people who are feeling things that you're not feeling on a physical level. That's empathy. That is the knowledge of knowing that you are one, not separated, as the ego would have you believe. Very necessarily too. So bear that in mind. When you are conscious of the imperfection and the perfection in that imperfection. Because only when you are aware of imperfection can you create perfection. When you are aware of imperfection, can you create perfection? It's like you need up to know down. You need bad to know good. So don't beat on anyone's imperfection. Rather celebrate it. Particularly for those who are conscious of their imperfection. because you'll find the people who come to you and are open readily to face their imperfections. You know they are genuine. You know that they understand the universal law that we are all one, because they haven't got any hang-ups by the ego of the fact that we are separate, and that they may require you to be something that you are not, or they may have expectation, which is all born from the ego. So just remember that we are all one ultimately, and although we may not be able to experience it on a reality level, once we start becoming conscious of things we do not see as well as things we do see, we will feel the interconnection, and we will have no choice but to conform and to act accordingly because of that interconnection. Many people who are conscious, whether they call themselves conscious or not, know that when they are aware of this interconnection, they are bound by universal law, because they cannot leave somebody suffering. They cannot be harmful. And it's not that you won't be that. We're imperfect, so we will transgress, of course. But it's what you learn from that transgression that separates us from those who are sleeping. And the more you look at your transgressions and learn your lessons from them, the less you will transgress. So it's a great burden to be conscious. But I just want you to know that you should not feel that you should be perfect. At least not today. If you're not perfect today, it's okay. You're as perfect as you need to be. That is the perfect imperfect. The perfect imperfection. The fact that you are imperfect, yet you know the potential of perfection because of that imperfection. So it's all about this polarity thing. And guess what? One day when you become perfect, you would have merged those twos. The imperfection and the perfection. And it will be one. So don't ask for tomorrow yesterday. Don't. Just live in the moment. Appreciate your consciousness, what you are aware of and not aware of. And don't become religious. Don't feel that everything and everyone should be perfect, and if it's not, somehow it is defiled. Because you have to remember that the source, the one we refer to as God, is responsible for everything that we experience, good and bad. So if you damn the bad, you damn God, basically. So just know that you are imperfect for a reason. And when you do transgress, you can be more conscious of that transgression. So you learn from it, you analyze it, you pick out things, you see how you can be, what you were feeling like, all sorts of things. You become a scientist. Aquarius is the scientist, and we're getting into that age. So we're going to be more scientific on ourselves from a spiritual, psychic, and scientific level. So we always have to be analyzing ourselves, analyzing situations. And even if you don't want to, when you are conscious, you have no choice but to. That's why it is a job. It is a burden, but it's worth it, because all of us get to that stage where we are conscious that we have no choice but to be perfect, because we are aware of the perfect imperfection. But why experience the imperfect again and again and again and again? So my brothers and sisters out there, just get on with your business, live your life, enjoy it. Don't be too caught up and preoccupied with being perfect just because you are older or you are wiser or you've read this book or you've done this pilgrimage. Just be happy. Just get your vibration going. Have you ever tried to be perfect and got frustrated from that and raised your vibration? Of course not. So just emphasize your thoughts on the positive, on the good, on abundance, on the law of attraction, and you will attract. And you would have forgotten all your stresses. But it takes work. That is the job. The fact that you are so aware of reality, you work your free will. You can decide to go left, you can decide to go right. You can decide to think this, you can decide to manifest that. It's all up to you. When you are conscious, the others are victims of their lives, but we are not. But that is a great burden, because you know it's all down to you. You know that your happiness is created by you. It doesn't fall out of the sky. So just enjoy your journey in this quote unquote consciousness, and learn from others and vibe with others and just spread love. Don't make things dogmatic. Don't just switch up your religion and have a new religion, because that would be a shame. When you have that knowledge but you don't apply that knowledge, that's what separates wisdom from knowledge, the application of knowledge. So apply yourself in this life. Apply yourself in the best way possible to keep your vibrations high and increasing even higher. Peace.